Welcome back to Barrel Brothers, and this week we're on the mighty Viperccino, doing something completely different. We're doing a diff swap. Stay tuned. Insert generic diff swap footage here. Alrighty, so why are we doing a diff swap on the Viperccino? I finally got sick of the noise, how noisy this diff is. So what the plan is to take this diff out. We'll just swap it over with the Torsen for the time being, which I've got, and then we'll take it over to Differential, and they can lap it or do whatever with it and make it quiet. Because I got onto the Cappuccino club. Nobody's got a noisy diff. I've got two, which isn't real flash. So yeah, let's get the spanners out and get on my back. And people have been asking why I don't have a hoist. All right, for first off, there's not enough room in here to put one. I can't put one in here. Every weekday, we have a truck come and we've got to load it up with stuff out of the warehouse, which means the forklift's got to run through here. As much as I want one, I can't do it. So everything's got to be done on my back. All part of the fun. I'm trying to remember what bloody spanners and stuff I use, you know. Just take a pile of shit out there and hope for the best, I suppose. I'll watch my old videos if I can see some spanners on the floor. And there, through the magic of television, it's done. Well, it's swapped over, so we've got a little job to do on the diff first, but then we need to chuck it in ye old ute and take it over to Differential over in Rockdale, which we can't do today because today's Sunday and normal people don't work on Sundays. One thing I did get wrong when I took this diff out last time, or when I did the bushes in them, is that bush is around the wrong way. That should be the solids that way. I wasn't thinking it was in the vise and stood up that way at the time, so, you know, vertical. So I actually have to press that back out and press it back in again. Things you do, things you learn along the way. Alrighty then, we have our diff back from Con over at Differential. He's forgotten more about diffs than I know. He's been around, I think the first diff I dropped off him was an HR31 diff 20 years ago when I was 9. Anyway, so he suggested that maybe it's the CVs. They have had this sort of similar problem. There's nothing wrong with this, absolutely nothing wrong with it. The pattern's good, the bearings are good, everything's bloody good. He put a new oil seal in it just because. They have had a similar problem before, and that's with, what was it, Honda S2000. Honda S2000, something about the CVs. That's the next place we've got to look, of course. The CVs being stretched and not quite long enough, so they've actually made up a spacer to space it out slightly. He suggested doing it with this. The Hondas are good until you lower them. Then you've got there's a specific amount, and Differential over in Rockdale in Sydney, they make the spaces, the right spaces, if you want to lower your S2000 and not have noisy CVs. Anyway, so I've also got the U-Butte friction additive on it, and I've got some Gulf Western, good Australian company, 80W90 gear oil, which is the correct weight oil for the Cusco diff. And this stuff here, recommended for those plate type diffs. I mean, it stinks. It absolutely stinks. I think they make it out of unicorn hooves and aardvark beaks. Anyway, just smells rancid. So it must be good. You know, anything that is that stinky must be good for your dish. But it smooths things out it really nicely. So what we got to do, we've got to have a look under the car with the weight on it. Have a look at the CVs and stick this thing back into it. That's level there, and as you can see, that's going upwards. So We really need, I need to get a screwdriver in there, and I haven't got the hands to hold this at the same time, but to see if we've got any movement in there. Obviously the other way to fix it would be to raise the car. You know you should do it, Mark, but it goes against my very principles, my very being. I can't raise the car. You need to, Mark. You need to raise the car. No, I won't do it. Enough drama. While we're here, I'm going to give it a quick oil change as well. Doesn't need an air filter. Well, everything else is pretty well right. The radiator fluid was changed, or the coolant was changed not so long ago, so that's good. We usually do that once a year. Air filter every 2 oil changes, I usually do, sometimes 3, because I change the oil on my turbo cars at 5,000 k's, not 10. You can have a look at the color of the oil. If it's black, you need to change it, or dark colored. But turbo cars, I just like to have nice clean oil through. It's cheap insurance, really, because I mean, on the scheme of things, an oil and filter is not that expensive, and really it'll improve the longevity of your car. That's sitting more like the standard ride height. Now, drive shafts are pretty much level, so they would go up and down from there, as you can see. So maybe Con's on the money. What we might do is, when we put it back together, we'll just put a couple of washers underneath there. I mean, I could raise the ride height. We could put a couple of washers under there and see what the story is, and just give it a drive around the block and see if that actually makes a difference to the noise, because you can, even at low speed, you can hear it. If that doesn't make any difference, and raising the ride height doesn't make any difference, then we might have to pull the drive shafts out and take them to a CV place and see if we can get them looked at. If you're working with diff oil, once you get that crap on you, especially this one, that's a smell that'll outlast religion, I tell you. This one's 800 mil. We've got a litre here, and we've got 118 millilitres here. So if we take one of our cups and pour some of this off, like about 300 mil, the rest should go into here and we should be good to go. We just stand it up in the vise. For those wondering, 22 millimeters for the diff plug. Look, it even I can smell that even though the bottle's sealed. Look. No, I'm not going to put it on my rule, because then I'll put it in my pocket and it'll just stink. Old diff oil or old gearbox oil has a particular smell to it. Well, this is like concentrated that. So it has sort of chunky bits in it. So, well, not chunky bits, like you can get them and squish them, which I highly advise not doing. Yeah, evil green it is, which you'll now see. See? We'll just take 300 out of that. The rest of that should go in here. I think we'll put that bit back in the bottle. Ah, it's on me. Now it's got stinky stuff in it. You know, the normal way is with it in the car, you fill it up until it just dribbles out, because those plugs there are placed at a specific height, so it's the right amount if you fill it up and it just dribbles out, if the car's level. But the reason I'm putting it in here and not out in the car is and I'll show you in a minute, there's stuff in the way. There's always, with this little car, there's always stuff in the way. I've got to take the rear tail light out. You've got to start with the front grille. Nothing is just a simple job. We'll just give it a soft rattle. That's ready to go in. I can smell that stuff. All right, so this stuff says, intended for use on certain limited slip differentials to reduce hypoid gear noise levels. Check owner's guide for workshop, blah, 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 for correct applications, blah, blah, meets, blah, 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 blah. Red sports car just screams of midlife crisis, doesn't it? Did he bring the right amount of spanners? I'll tell you what I didn't bring, a light. Torsen. Cusco. Ye old Torsen is out, and the Cusco is in. I've increased the ride height by 5 millimeters. There seems to be plenty of articulation in the CVs. They're like, if you pull them out next to where the shaft is that goes into the diff, you can pull them out like 20 mil past that, and they go back in probably 10 or 15 millimeters like that way. So they seem to be fine, which is odd. Not odd, it's fine, like it's where it's supposed to be. The drive shaft himself though, you can move it just a fraction back and forth where it goes into the hub. Now I've taken the wheel off and had a look at the nut on the hub, and it's tight, and when you move the axle it doesn't move, so I don't know what's actually holding it in there. Maybe a detent or something, I have no idea, but there's just a fraction of movement there. Maybe it needs pulling apart and some grease applied to it, I don't know. I might have a look at the exploded fuel and find out how they all go together. Anyway, what we'll do, we'll go up the other end and we'll finish off our oil change, and then we might chuck the camera in the car and take for a bit of a drive and see if this made any difference. So. Oh my god, it's like a four-wheel drive! Ah, damn it, the key. Really improves the performance, the key. You really need to open the door to get it out of your pocket though. Something's not happy. Everything's tight. So I guess it's just been a Cuzco two-way being a Cuzco two-way after it's been pulled apart, put back together with the tolerances all sorted. So it's my life now. It wasn't that clunky before, but you know, they say you should do a couple of figure eights and well, it's just been pulled apart, put back together. So Con said he really liked the diff. He said it's a really good diff. So yeah, it's just diff being diff. Yeah, it's better now. So we might just drive around in circles a couple of times just to make sure everything's happy, because there's we've got to get some oil in between the plates. Yeah, that's better already. Yeah, just in case it needed a bit of oil in between the plates, which it now has. Still noisy. So I guess it's those CVs or drive shafts. Oh, it's in neutral. You can hear that, eh? Find some exploded drawings of the hubs and go from there, because there's nothing wrong with the diff. It's absolutely fine. So fun to drive this thing, and I'll show you why. That's why. Looks like drive shafts are what we've got to look at now. Drive shafts and CVs, all part of the fun of owning a sports car while you're having your midlife crisis. I guess we'll jack up the back of the car and pull them out and have a bit of a look at them. Maybe we can stuff some grease, and if not, then we might, second-hand ones are pretty cheap in Japan, might grab a couple and bring them over and give them to a CV joint to fix. Alright, now we've passed all that arty stuff. Wow, that light's really shining from below. Wow. It looks like we've got to undo this guy here, knock that out and undo that nut, and then undo all the bolts on the CV end, and that should just come out. I hope I don't have to undo the diff again and take that out. First one's out. Can be coaxed out with you like getting it just in the right spot, and you can get them out. So we've got two, the CV there and another one there. So what I'm going to do is take the rubbers off these boots off, well, not get them off, just like take that off and pull them back and have a look at the inside, and not much going to do with them really. Pack them up with grease and put it back in again. Alright, so I've got this end off and it seems to be full of this, see this brown goop? Sort of looks like Subaru oil. I think what the idea is, we'll try and pop this cap off, undo the nut, like pull it all apart, clean it all up, and then put some nice fresh grease in there, and we'll go from there. Yeah, that's disgusting. Okay, now we've got it all to bits and clean. I'll show you, these are rather a clever little gadget. So how it works is, as you can see, the ball runs in the balls running these slots here. So this can actually turn a little bit hard with one hand, but it can also, if you look inside there, you can see this one's a little bit worn, but it can also slide in and out, up and down these slots here. What a clever little gadget. The other end of it seemed pretty fine, so basically I just, it wasn't brown sludgy stuff in there. I repacked the wheel bearing as well, and I thought while I've got it out, I'll just check. There's the two of them. Okay, so the driver's side one is longer. That's the passenger side one. This one I've just taken out. If you're ever wondering, there's your answer. Passenger side is full of brown sludgy stuff too. Not as milky and crap looking as the other one, but yeah, I figure we've got to do the same thing. Pull it right to bits, clean it all up, and we'll repack it with new grease. The outer one, it'd be interesting to see the outer one on this one, because the one on that one was fine, but it certainly looks like the two inner ones have had water in them. Yeah, that would explain things a little bit. I think that's what the grease once looked like, but you can see on the center there, but on, yeah, it's it don't look like that anymore. But there's nothing wrong with the boots themselves. There's no cracks or anything in them. Oh, there's a bit of a crack in that one. Just go all the way through. It's not all the way through, so. Well, that one seemed to be the same deal. So it was sludgy on the diff end and fine on the other. So, but I repacked them. They've all been repacked with grease now, and I've repacked the bearings as best as I can. They're a press out, press in sort of a job. Probably have to get the whole hub. Anyway, so I've repacked that. That one, this side, is a little noisier than that one. Let's put it all get back together and see if it's actually made a difference. I mean, it can't have made it any worse, really. Everything's back together, so let's take it for a spin and see if it's made any difference. That's just rolling in neutral. You can hear it? I think it's that wheel bearing, honestly. But it's definitely quieter. Hard to heel and toe in this thing in these boots. We've narrowed it down. Oh. And I think I know what it is. So it turns out it was indeed the wheel bearings. It's a lot quieter now. It's a lot quieter. I might even put the camera in the car. But what am I doing today? Just as a postscript to that one, I found out that the EA21Rs, this is an EA11R, so it's the early model. EA21Rs have a remote boot opener. You know, up till now you have to use the key to open the boot, but I found out that they have one and went on to Yahoo Japan and found one. All I have to do now is put it in. Nothing's an easy job on a Cappuccino. Both seats out, but there it is. So it's only taken me several freaking hours to do, and now I have to put it all back together. Small car, big problem. Bit like human beings, smallest ones are usually the biggest problem. And there you have it. So much easier. As you can hear, it's quite a bit quieter. So it was the wheel bearings, but if you want to check, this is the best way to do it. Like, get it a little bit of speed up. We're doing like 60 k's now. And you will hear it go loud, quiet, loud, quiet. And that's the best way of figuring out whether it's wheel bearings or not, or even which wheel bearing. It'll tell you. The one you're landing on is the noisy one. In this case, they were both noisy. That side was noisier of the two, the noisier of the two. But yeah, all we're hearing now is turbo whistles, exhaust noise, and there's a little bit of diff noise there, but you know, we've got a fairly tight Cusco in it, two-way, so it's gonna have a little bit of noise there, but it's so much quieter. It's unbelievable. Anyway, so there you go. What I thought was diffs the whole time, I figure was wheel bearings just getting noisier and noisier, and yeah, they were really making some noise at the end there. So that is the end of this episode. Another roundabout. And look after after yourselves. Thanks for watching Barrel Brothers, and we will see you next time. It's the most smile-inducing car I think I've ever owned.